So Mahlon, how are you doing?
I'm fantastic.
I've had a big announcement the other week.
We did. So a week ago, I announced my campaign for governor for 2018. We started in Green Bay. It's a week now. We started in Green Bay, went to Milwaukee, and ended at Lucille and Madison. And then just yesterday, we were in Wausau, Eau Claire, and then ended in La Crosse. So we're gonna get around the state, spread the message, and make it happen.
How are you feeling right now? It's a big state, 72 counties. I mean, how are you feeling?
A lot of rolling hills. There's a lot of countryside out there.
It's beautiful though. It's
It is
a beautiful state.
No, we feel good. I mean, we had a lot of travel time already. This campaign is going to be about people, and you're going to have to actually go out and reach people, not just try to. A lot of times with campaigns, especially statewide campaigns, you dial for dollars, they call it. So you sit in an office like this, and you would just literally dial for dollars, fundraise for 8-9 hours. But we're not going to just do that. We're going to have to fundraise, obviously, but we're going to make sure that we actually get out and shake hands, press flesh, and talk to people.
So tell me, how does one decide to run for governor? I mean, it's a big job. You had a good job working for the firefighters.
Still have a good job.
Still have.
Yeah.
Still,
I'm not a former
yet?
No, I'm not a former. I'm still in the department.
You're still in the department. And you ran for lieutenant governor with Tom Barrett. Mm-hmm. And now you decided to run for governor now. How did you process that? How did you decide to make that decision?
Well, when I ran last time, I ran a recall. So that was only about a three-month stint. So it was go all the time. And I really didn't know what I was doing. I didn't really know what I was getting into, but it just felt right at the time. It was part of a movement, really, and I felt like it was the next progressive amount of steps to take. This time, there's a lot more deliberation. I talked with my family a lot. We had some time to actually sit and talk about if we want to do this. And we got a year out. I mean, we got about a year to make it happen. The primary's in August. The general election will be in November after that of 2018. So I am excited to do it. I've always thought that I would probably want to get back in the politics of running. When I campaign, I enjoy campaigning. Mm-hmm. I enjoy talking to people about issues. And I enjoy going out and actually listening to other people.
Tell me what you mentioned your wife, because you kept saying we, because it is a we decision when you decide to run for something like this. Just as a married man, what did you say to your wife to convince her that she should give you up to the state of Wisconsin like this?
Well, I asked her kindly, nicely.
Does that work?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. When I get on a job, the fire department 20 years ago, mm-hmm. and I would never ever think that I'd be sitting here in front of you, or asking my wife, "Hey, I'm thinking about taking this step." And potentially, if we win, we have to leave the fire department. Mm-hmm. I mean, firefighting is in my blood. My older brother's a firefighter in Atlanta. My younger brother's a firefighter in St. Paul. So it's something that's in our blood. So it's not something I take lightly. And added on to that is your family. I have a daughter who just started college at UW-Oshkosh. She's a freshman. So we had to get her settled. And we probably started talking about this in February of this year. Looking at the field, looking at the potential field, but also being a state president, I go around and I have firefighters as far up as Superior, Wisconsin, as far south as Kenosha, Beloit, Racine. And people are struggling, man. And when you see that, and when you talk to real people, and you know that you could actually do something to help, I felt like I had to get in. So I talked with my wife about it. Eventually she came around.
Yeah, right. Eventually. Keyword eventually.
And she's still coming around, actually.
Well, it has to be tough.
Yeah.
I mean, just someone who's gone through this process. Your daughter's old enough to understand what's going on, so she's in college. Yeah. When your wife, so it's really a sacrifice on the family, even your job. I mean, getting away from the firefighter. So I commend you for that big jump. There's a lot of candidates in the race. What made you decide that you could be something that differentiates yourself from the other candidates? Why you versus the other ones?
Well, I get asked that question a lot, and people say what differentiates me from other candidates, and did I get in the race because I thought the field was weak? That really had nothing to do with me getting in the race. I'm going to go talk about what I want to talk about and what my plan is and what our issues are and what our team wants to do. I'm a firefighter by trade. We have a mantra that's called all hands working. It means that everyone is on location doing something to mitigate or stabilize the incident. As firefighters, we respond to those on the worst days of their lives. And when they're at their worst, we have to be at our best. So when you see people hurting in the state, and when you know you can do something about that, and when you know that our state needs a change, you just can't sit on the sidelines. And I mean, we've always talked, politics is not a spectator sport.
That's right.
So you have to get in there. You can't just bury your head in the sand if you can do something and say politics is not going to affect me, or I'm going to sit this one out. I don't like politics. It affects everyone. And people are hurting. So when I look at the other field, I know most of those folks well. I respect them all. They're all good people, good, kind, decent people. But our state needs leadership. And I think I can be that leader. I know I can be that leader, in all honesty.
Well, you clearly have some following. When we ran some of your stories that you were even thinking about announcing, we had like 15,000 people looked at the stories. So we know people are interested, but some of the critiques...
I need about 2.1 million people to be interested.
Oh,
Then I win the election.
We reached about 1.5 million, so there you go.
Okay, that's a start.
There you go. Some of your critics will say you don't have the experience. So how do you answer that question?
Well, I mean, I have the experience of leading people. I mean, that's what a governor is. I mean, you have to lead. I'm not a political pundit. I'm not a political insider. But we have enough of those. We have enough insiders and pundits at the state capitol, and quite frankly in Washington, D.C. We need leadership, and real leadership. And that's what I bring to the table. I mean, I've actually had people put their lives in my hands, and me vice versa in theirs. And the decisions I've made have life or death consequences. So we need leadership. And I would take that same mantra, that same mentality to the State House, because we need creative compromise and not just constant conflict. Any gubernatorial candidate that's a Dem and thinks they're going to go in and bang their fists on the table to get things done, it's just not going to work. You're going to have more than likely a Republican Assembly and Senate that you're going to have to work with. And that requires leadership. You look at some of our core issues, and we have not led as a state in the core issues: jobs, the economy, our infrastructure, our roads, education, healthcare. We're not leading in those things anymore, and we need to get back to that.
You mentioned jobs. So talk about Foxconn, and that's one of the big things everyone's talking about right now. Why? And I heard you're against this, I believe.
Well,
why wouldn't we want 13,000 jobs in our state?
So saying I'm strictly against it is not necessarily the case, and I don't want to sound like a politician because I'm not. But let's be clear what Foxconn is. It's a massive tax giveaway of $3 billion of hard-earned taxpayers' money to a foreign company. Now, I'm not against creating jobs or government being involved in facilitating job creation. But take a step back. When we have a governor who says that we can't properly or adequately fund education, right? He takes $1.6 billion from public education, his first two budgets, and puts $600 million back in his last budget, and we're supposed to call that progress. I mean, that's like taking a knife, 8 inches, sticking it in my back, and then pulling it off 4 inches. And I'm supposed to say thank you. I mean, it doesn't add up. So when we can't adequately fund education, when we don't take the Medicaid expansion because it's going to cost too much money, and we're not adequately giving people the right health care. When a mother or a daughter has to not go to hospital because their parents can't afford it, that's wrong. When a senior has to make a decision between paying their rent or getting their prescription drugs filled, that's not right. So we can't adequately do health care. Our roads, we're 49th in the state or in the country when it comes to infrastructure and roads. We have a crumbling infrastructure that we can't take care of, right? And then when you talk about jobs and the economy, and we can't raise wages, I mean, we have the fastest shrinking middle class in the world. That's not a good thing. Mm-hmm. And then everyone talks about the middle class, but we don't talk about the working class people and those that are actually living below middle class wages. Let's help them out. So when we can't properly and adequately take care of everything here at home, but we have money somehow in our budget to give $3 billion to a foreign company, and we won't see a return on investment for 25 years, that's where I have a problem. I say we adequately fund healthcare, adequately fund schools, take care of our people when it comes to healthcare, make sure our wages are higher, help our economy, stimulate our economy, take care of our roads, our infrastructure, and then we don't have to give Foxconn or any foreign company this golden parachute to come into the state. They'll want to come here because of our quality of life. So that's what I'm saying. Let's invest in the people that are here.
Got it.
I don't think the government should be in charge of picking winners and losers. I mean,
So usually Republicans say that, right? Don't they usually say that's their line? Don't pick.
Well, don't pick winners and losers. Don't give handouts, right? Give hand-ups.
Right.
Well, what is a $3 billion golden parachute to Foxconn? It's a handout. Right?
I'm just asking the questions, my friend. So
I'm getting fired up.
I see it. Is
there a microphone? I'm ready to give a speech. Give me a podium.
So I have a question for you, though. Governor Walker's clearly a skilled campaigner. I don't believe he's ever lost. And, he would say that the unemployment's one of the lowest it's ever been. How do you beat someone like him who's never been beaten, who clearly knows how to campaign? I mean, how do you convince voters that this is the time to beat him, that you're the person who can beat him?
Well, it's time for a change. I mean, you look at Governor Walker's had 2 terms. He's had 8 years to unify our state, to make our state better for everyone, not just a select few. And he hasn't done that. He hasn't led. He ran for president. That didn't go so well. And now he's back asking for year 9, 10, 11, 12. I mean, over a decade, he wants to be our governor. We're Plan B, essentially. Because
I was going to ask you that. So what does that tell you, that he decided to run for president and then he decided to come back and run for governor? Does that hurt him, or how does that look from your perspective?
I mean, polling shows that it hurt him, but time will tell. I mean, it's got to be up to the voters, right? I mean, but it looks to me, Governor Walker's been running for office for 25 years. Right. I mean, he's a skilled, as you said, politician. I'll give him that credit. He is all about politics and his next step, right? His political ambition. I'm not running for president. He did, and that's fine. I mean, that's his right. But now we're Plan B. So now, after taking all that time to run for president, he's saying he wants to come back now and focus on Wisconsin. Well, come on, man. That's not how things work. I mean, he's asking for 4 more years, and where he hasn't actually taken care of our state. Now, everything that Governor Walker does is because of politics. It's not about people. It's because of his political ambition, what looks good on his resume, and what he can say. I mean, we have a crumbling infrastructure. We can't adequately fund schools, but next year I'm going to have a dollar, I think is what the Fiscal Bureau said, $1 lower taxes, $1.
So I want to switch subject a little bit. We're talking about Wisconsin, and Wisconsin is known for being some of the best places to live for some people. But we also had study after study coming talking about Milwaukee and Racine are some of the worst places to live for people of color. Madison, some of the worst places to live for people of color. Some disparities in the schools. I know the governor was touting how kids are already ACT prepared and ready. But if you look at the data here for African American kids in our high schools, 9% are ready, 10% are ready. I don't hear any other candidates talking about this issue, and it's an economic development issue, really, because if you have a population that's growing, there's going to be more people of color, and demographics are shifting in the state next 20 years. Look at the schools now, there are more people of color in the schools. If they're not getting educated, if they're being incarcerated, that's your future workforce. So it's an economic development issue, and I haven't heard any other candidates really address this issue. If you can't recruit talent, if you can't keep talent, you can't grow the economy. Right. So, what do you think, what can we do to maybe address some of those issues? I know it's a big question, but what do you think we can do to kind of tackle some of those issues? Because it keeps coming out over and over again.
Yeah, and we talk about in the campaign, I mean, once we get into the details, we talk about the African-American male incarceration rates in our state, which are the worst in the country. There's been studies that have said and shown that Wisconsin's the worst place to live if you're African-American, if you're black. So those are all things that we have to work on. The biggest bridge to changing that is opportunity. And if you create opportunities for people, most people will seize on those opportunities. But if there's no opportunity there, if there's no way to actually change your lot in life or to change your course of direction, then you're going to revert back to what you know. And we're not giving opportunities. I mean, we're going to roll out a huge plan that talks about job apprenticeships and job training and skilled trade jobs. And that is an opportunity, right? That's an opportunity to have a good job, but not just a good job, but actually a job that pays well, that you can actually support a family or yourself with. So it's about opportunities, and we have to create, that's what government can do. We have to create opportunities for people in this state. But you go all around the state, and it's not just Milwaukee or Racine, Kenosha, Beloit, Madison. You go around the state, and a struggle's a struggle. If you're struggling in Rhinelander, Wisconsin, and you're struggling in Bosqueville, Wisconsin, you're struggling in Milwaukee, you're struggling. So we need to create opportunities for this entire state. One thing that the governor does well, unfortunately, is divide us. He talks about the urban and rural divide. Well, yeah, there's a divide there if you make one. But when we lead. I mean, I lead. I'm a leader. That's my natural tendency to do. Not sit and talk about one segment of the population hurting the other one. We're all Wisconsinites, and we have to create opportunities for everyone around the state.
You know, I know the governor, before when he was running, talked about divide and conquer. So you think he's still running that game plan of
that's
divide and conquer?
Man, that's the game plan. Divide and conquer. Create an enemy is what they do. And then they keep harping on that enemy. And then eventually you start believing it. Like, well, you know what? I don't have everything I want. I don't have all the opportunities I want. So maybe it is that problem. Maybe that person is the problem that they keep telling me is the problem. Like, no, it's divide and conquer. I mean, you heard him say it to Diane Hendricks in Beloit and Janesville, in a documentary. So that's his game plan. I mean, he told us, right? My mom always said, if somebody tells you who they are, believe them. Right. So that's where we're at.
Well, tell us, like, for the people who've never ran for office, what's it like? You wake up in the morning and you do what? What do you end up in the day doing?
It's 12-hour days. It's 12. Like yesterday was actually an 18-hour day. We woke up at around 4:30. We got on the road for an event in Wausau at 8:30. We did some press and TV interviews like we're doing right now with media. And then we got in our car and we drove for 2 hours, hour and 45 minutes, went to Eau Claire, gave our stump speech, did some press and interviews, got in the car for another 2 hours and drove to La Crosse. And in between that driving, you're making phone calls, you're trying to raise money, you're working on your pitch, you're talking with your staff about things you should be doing better, points you got to hit, things you probably shouldn't say. Sometimes I have that problem. I talk too much, they say.
What? They say that about you?
Some people do.
Okay.
But it's not, and I don't know if people think it's glamorous, but it's not. But if you enjoy talking to people and you enjoy like the hustle and grind and working hard, it's enjoyable. But now running statewide is a totally different animal, obviously, than running for a city alder or a county spot or even mayor or congressional because you have a certain area. I mean, we have all 72 counties, and we have about 5.67 million people in the state. So I would have talked to all of them.
Do you find being an African-American man, do you understand the role model that you can be to a lot of young African-American men, young guys who are actually looking at you running? I mean, it could be historic if you win. You'd be the first African-American ever to win at the governor's office in Wisconsin. That would be huge. Do you feel that pressure of the potential of being the first African-American? Does that weigh on you at all? Do you recognize that?
You know, it doesn't weigh on me. I'd be lying if I didn't say that I haven't thought about it because I have. But you know, I have a son, I have a daughter. So being a role model is something that I have to do anyway. Just in this case, you look at it and it gives more of a moment of pause and more pressure. But the pressure's already there, as you know. So this is just a little bit more added pressure. But if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. No pun intended there. I'm a firefighter. But no, in all honesty.
I'm slow. I didn't get that.
Yeah.
That's good. That was good.
But no, in all honesty, I've thought about it. We've talked about it with other media outlets. But yeah, it'll be historic. But I'm running to make sure and make sure we represent everybody.
Right.
And
well, clearly, leading the firefighters, that's not just a personal color organization. So clearly you get that. But there is the point of 19% of the turnout for African Americans was down. I mean, Dems need that turnout to come back up. I guess that could be an advantage if you run a strong campaign that you inspire some of the African Americans to get that 19% back up. Yeah,
and a lot of people say, can the elephant in the room a lot of times is can an African American win statewide in Wisconsin? And not compare myself at all to President Obama, but he did win the state heavily. I think when he ran against McCain, he won by 7 points, I think, in our state. And then when Romney ran against him in 2012, he won by 5 points. So it can be done. And I think, like you said, it's energizing our base. You look at the city of Milwaukee, they lost about 24,000 votes, drop off from the last presidential election. And Donald Trump won our state by 22,000 votes, I believe. So we got to energize our base, but it can be done. And we're going to make history, man. We're going to make it happen.
I'm excited to see that happen. And I think one thing also is being a firefighter, if you get to the general, it really comes down to independent, right? It really comes to that small vote in independence. How do you think you being a firefighter, does that help you? I mean, for me, looking on outside, looking in, you being a firefighter, someone's not being in politics, I would think that would help you with that vote. But
Yeah.
do you have a message for them? Like, primaries, usually people go far to the left, far to the right, and come back in the middle. It sounds like to me that you're talking about people in general, and you're trying to have more of a middle class message. Do you think that fits for that?
Well, yeah. I mean, our message and our mantra for our campaign is all hands working. I mean, when I go and work at the firehouse, and we go to a fire incident or a medical emergency, we're not Democrats or Republicans or independents. We're people helping other people. And that's what we need to get back to as state government. Now, I'm a Democrat, no doubt. But if we win, you got to work with Republicans to get anything done. And that's the way it should be. I mean, that's how state government is supposed to work. We may all have our own political leanings, but at the end of the day, it should be about coming together and compromising on certain things, not on your principles, but compromising on things to make it better for others. That's how government was originally put in place to work. But it's so much partisanship and so much I got you moment, so much mudslinging that we've lost our way, I think. And not just in the state of Wisconsin, but all over. It's just this constant barrage of conflict. It seems like we're always in election process, like someone's always running for something. And we're not governing, we're just running for office. And people are more concerned about their position than actually people. Or people more are concerned about their party than actual people. Or bad policy than actual people. Or politics over people. I mean, it's just, everything is about those things as opposed to actually what we should be doing and what elected officials should be doing. And that is leading the way to helping others. So my message is to Democrats, Republicans, and independents. We have to work together to change our course. And we have to believe in the capacity of change in order to do that. So I hope my message resounds well with everyone. I mean, I'm a firefighter. When we run in a burning building, like I said, we're not Democrats or Republicans. We're people trying to help others. And that's what I'm trying to do now.
Last question, what can people expect from you next? They want to learn more about your campaign. What's next for you?
Well, if you go to mahlonmitchell.com, little plug there, okay. Mahlon, Mitchell, mahlonmitchell.com, you'll be able to learn more about the campaign. You can actually donate too if you like. But we're going to be rolling out position papers in the coming weeks, talking about policy initiatives and things that we want to do to change our state around. You got to see, we have a strong social media presence. So if you go to our Facebook or our Twitter handle at Mahlon Mitchell, you'll see a lot of things, a lot of issues that we'll be talking about with social media. But we're going to be all over. So stay tuned. We have about a little under a year left, and we're going to hopefully hit everybody. So hope to be in a city near you.
A year. Can't believe you jumped back in this game.
It's going fast, though.
Man.
It's been a week already.
Wow. Already. Well, thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Wish you the best.
All right.